Welcome to Near Falls with D. Hall. He's talking on bars and how they win it all. Yeah, it's just Near Falls with D. Hall. The final takedown, the glory or the fall. So loosen up, step on in, wrestle with the need to win. We're talking Near Falls with D. Hall. Ready or not, he's here to brawl.
What's going on, wrestling fans? Welcome into another edition of Near Falls with D Hall, a wrestling podcast. Today, so excited. This is the best time of year. My favorite project of the year, the 24-25 WPIAL Coaches Preview. So excited to bring this to you guys. I have a bunch of different coaches coming on from across the WPIAL. They're going to come on, talk about their schedule, expectations, up-and-comers, their leaders, their seniors, all that type of stuff. You guys know the drill. This is year 3 or 4 of me doing it. So pumped up to bring it to you guys. I really hope you enjoy it, and just hope you enjoy listening to these guys talk like I did. It was always a blast for me, and this year was no different. So without further ado, welcome in to the WPIAL Coaches Preview.
Welcome to the Near Falls WPIAL Show, where D.R. and Kaz are gonna tell you all the things you wanna know. Whether it's Trinity or Spencer Lee or Mr. Kurt Angle, just ask Vinny, WPIAL, yeah, Ken and Mac for sure. They got the interviews to soothe your soul, because it's Near Falls in the WPIAL.
All right, joining me now on the call, we have head coach of South Fayette High School, Mr. Rick Chaucer. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, and thanks for having me, and I appreciate everything you do with this podcast.
Man, thank you. Appreciate the love. And I had to have the South Fayette Lions coach on, man. I'm a West A boy. You guys are right in my backyard. I've spent hours and hours and hours in that gym, whether it's youth tournaments or high school tournaments or junior high tournaments, which, you guys have a great setup for. But yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on. And, first things first, I guess I'll ask you, man, how about, you guys have a great history, the Carr brothers and, recently some really great guys that just graduated. Just talk about, your alumni group and before we kind of run into this season.
Yeah, we were on a pretty good run there. COVID kind of killed us. It kind of set us back a few years. We lost, I think, 14 wrestlers the year of COVID broke out, and not one of them ever came back. So we were kind of like, after COVID, we started rebuilding. But leading into that, it started right before I got here with Nick Carr on the individual side of it. And then when I came in, it took us a couple years to get him to buy in, and we went on a run from like I think it started in 2012 to up till COVID, where we were making runs at WPIAL titles and placing 3, 4, 5 guys at states every year.
I mean, you guys were problems in Double A. You guys just tore people up, man. I mean, I'm also very close with Freedom. My whole family's from Freedom, so I would talk to Coach Cover, and he's like, "Man, them damn South Fayette Lions, our kids would get them green eyes, man." I was like, "So I
want to get that back
for sure.
I'm trying to find how to get that back." It's funny you say Freedom, because when I was at Fort Cherry for all them years, that's who we battled for the WPIAL title almost every year, and they never beat us. We always ended up on top at the fort.
Yeah, man, I hear you. That's good stuff. But yeah, just, do you have anyone wrestling in college now? Anyone rolling around?
Right now, well, let me touch on what we talked about just a minute ago with the kids. JJ Walker, he finished up at W&J. He's from that area. The Fayette boys went to Columbia. I don't know how many people. Both of them wrestled for Columbia.
The Fetchett's were awesome. Grant and
Mike.
Mike was the older one, right?
Yes, Mike's the older one.
Yep.
And then we had a couple kids wrestle at John Carroll, Shane Ging, and not Michael D-Dye, it's Christian D-Dye. I couldn't remember his name for a second. Haven't seen him in a while. And there were a lot more from that era that went on to wrestle in college. Right now, since I've been there, this is kind of the thinnest we are. Eli Brinsky just finished. Well, he does have a year of eligibility left, but he just finished at Clarion. He's finishing up his schooling at Virginia Tech. And last I talked to
Big Eli Brinsky fan. I mean, I know his family. I love Eli. He's a great kid.
he's a hard worker. He's worked
sir.
for everything he's gotten. So, and then I don't believe he's wrestling down there. I don't think he was going to when he transferred there. Who was the other? Mike Cusick just finished he was at Kunsstown. He finished, I believe, last year. He finished up school. He's out in the business world. And Mikey Carr, who I never thought was going to graduate from Illinois. He spent 6 years there, and he's in the process of completing medical school to become a doctor.
I'll be honest with you, man. I was watching a duel, and then they're looking at these probable lineups, and it's Mike Carr. I'm like, that can't be Mikey Carr, right? And then he walks out on the mat, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Mikey Carr out there wrestling. And, many years later and everything,
That night he came back, I had probably had a half dozen text messages. And they're like, is that the Mikey Carr wrestling for Illinois tonight? I'm like, yes, it is. Why didn't you tell me? I'm like, he didn't want nobody to know, so I didn't tell anybody. So,
very cool, man.
Yeah, he's finishing up medical school and on his way to become a doctor. He just had a baby not too long ago. I'm not sure how long ago. So, and then right now in school wrestling, we have Johnny Biano is at Seton Hill. Jacob Potts is at Teal. And James Anderson, I'm going to butcher this school because I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's Waukesha Baptist. It's in Arkansas.
Okay.
They wrestled Division II. And the last rankings I saw, he was ranked 3rd or 5th in the country. So he finished good last year. He made nationals. He didn't make I think he lost in a blood round, if I remember correctly. But he started out this year ranked 5th in the nation. And I think his record coming into this week is like 9-1.
On the right track for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into this team, man. Talk to me about off-season program. You have these kids on the mat? They're club kids. What's it look like for you guys?
We have a few kids that do club at the varsity level. Most of our club kids are at the junior high level. Our numbers for varsity right now are they're the lowest I've been since I've been there. And I kind of knew this was coming because there was one year, I'm trying to remember how far back, maybe 3 years ago or 4, where we only had 6 junior high kids to start the year. We end up finishing with 10. We dragged a couple in. So I knew this law was coming. I've been filling holes with kids who have basically no wrestling experience over the last few years. And they've battled because our goal is to try to make the team playoffs every year. And every year it's down to the last section match. And lately we've come up short a little bit. So that's going to be our goal this year. Our off-season program, I consisted of like 3 sessions. We do what we call a spring session. It runs for like 8 to 10 weeks, April and May. And then we break until like after the 4th of July. I call that the summer session. We go to like a week before school starts. And then we'll start a week after school starts and go. It's all 2 days a week. And the fall session that I call, we do it up until the season starts. So, and the attendance was okay. It wasn't nothing to write home about, but it is what it is.
I mean, when you're rebuilding, sometimes you got to have, those stepping stones for sure. Yeah. But you guys are in a prime spot and you guys have a lot of talent there. It's not going to be long. Obviously you talk about your numbers in junior high. But for now, give me someone, that, a leader in the room that's stepping up for you that you've been leaning on, I guess.
That's kind of a tough question. It's kind of by committee.
Gotcha.
Seems like every day there's a different kid that steps up. I did ask that question to him today because I told him I was going to be on your show. And I'm like, who's the leader in this room? And they actually all pointed to Brock Dennison. He's a junior.
Okay.
But we have a couple seniors, Talon and Luke, that kind of lead by I guess I don't want to know if you want to say example, but Talon's a very quiet kid. Doesn't say much, but he works very hard. And Luke's he's a different animal. That's about all I can say. He's a different animal. He's a different breed.
One of those guys, you say.
Yes.
I got you, man, friend. I got you. No, that's good stuff. And obviously, Brock Dennison is a stud. I'm excited to see what he does this year. And for sure. How about on the other side of that coin, a freshman or a newcomer, someone that maybe just cracked the lineup that, might turn a couple heads?
I have a couple kids that, well, one of them, I'm not sure if I'm going to leave up yet on junior high. We have Sawyer Dean. He's only been wrestling for like 3 years, but he never missed an open mat. And I talked to him today about, being at the varsity level. And I'm like, you've made huge strides from where you were last year at this point. So we're hoping he can get in and get him in at a comfortable weight for him. That's the issue we're having right now, is trying to get him into a comfortable weight for him.
What kind of weight is that looking like?
We're hoping to see him at 114.
Gotcha. So he's a little guy.
Yeah, and it's just, I think he's just new to the weight loss situation. And we talked to him a little bit today about, we don't want you not to eat, actually
right.
You're better off eating 6 tiny meals and then a couple big ones.
Right.
And it's what you put in your body too that makes a difference. So we talked to him about that today, and we're going to talk a little bit more over the next couple of days and get him headed in the right direction. And then we have another kid that's probably not going to be in the lineup till after the 2-pound weight allowance. Adam Bradley, he's wrestled for probably 5 or 6 years now. He'll be probably 26, 33 range, somewhere in there. And then another kid, Owen Trahan, his sister's very good. She's actually wrestling for Fort Cherry. Her name's Ella Trahan. We did a co-op with Fort Cherry with the girls, because I only had her, and she kind of got roughed up last year with the boys. And I said, well, why don't we go to Fort Cherry? And her parents agreed. And I actually got another girl to go out, a junior. Came into my open match one time, and she was throwing boys around. And I'm like, why don't you go out for wrestling?
Heck yeah. That's what I love to hear, man. Hey,
so she's
not even caring if you're a boy or girl. Let's scrap, baby. I love that.
And I even asked her, I'm like, well, first thing I asked her is, how much do you weigh, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, of course.
She says like 130. And I'm like, damn. She's like, why? I'm like, because we need a 107.
For sure. Right.
She was definitely a scrapper. So she's up there, and Doug and I are good friends. So I'm going to keep in touch on how they're doing and go from there. But her brother is about 155, and there's really no place for him there, because that's right around where Mazenko and Dunlap are. And then we actually have another, even though we don't have a big roster, seems like all our backups are between 45 and 60. So
classic middleweight logjam.
Yeah.
Yep. So, okay, so
go ahead.
Talk to me about your coaching staff, man. Who's helping you out this year?
This year I have my longtime assistant, Josh Malika. He's been with me. He was with me at Fort Cherry for, I don't even know how long. And he was with me at South Fayette when I made the transition from Fort Cherry to South Fayette. And then he left for, I think, 6 years. He was the coach at Upper St. Clair. And when he left there, I called him and said I was looking for an assistant, and he came back. So I like him. He saves me a lot of sleepless nights, because his I think we're in a log jam there. You back?
Yep, I'm back. We definitely froze there for a second. We talked about you were talking about your assistant coaches.
Josh, yeah. I lost contact there for a minute.
It's all right.
Yeah, I spoke about Josh Malika, and like I said, what he does for me in the scouting side saves me I get a lot more sleep that way, because he's very good at giving me details on, I do my own too, and then we compare notes and go from there. I also have JJ Walker has been with me now for 2 years. Of course, he
I love
spent 2
JJ,
years at
man. He's a
Kent
beast.
and
He
was
used to wrestle with my brother. He's a monster.
and yeah, he spent two years at Kent and finished up, made nationals at W&J. This year, I just added Jet Pattison from McGuffey. I found out in like September that he was teaching at our middle school, so I'm like, I got to get him. So he's been in the room. The kids really like him, and he loves it. I have a couple volunteers. Josh Miller. He's been on and off with me for a few years now because of his job, because he changed jobs, and he's from Johnstown. And Jason Cardillo, who the former coach at Cannon Mac, he comes in the room whenever he can, once, maybe twice a week. So
Jason Cardillo was one of my coaches growing up. He coached for a little bit at West Allegheny because he was, I guess, at Char Valley for a time with my coach, Michael Johnson.
yes.
Man, you want to talk about a physical specimen? At least
Oh,
whenever he was my coach, he
yeah.
used to just like wrestle with his hands behind his back and just tear people. Like he was. I have nightmares of wrestling Jason Cardillo.
Some of the kids, when he walks in the room, especially on a Saturday, he usually comes on Saturdays and like holidays and stuff like that because he has 2 little kids. He's helping out. He's in our youth program in our youth room every night, so that's definitely a bonus. And when he walks in the room, the kids cringe. They cringe. They don't want no part of him.
I 100% buy that. And then I watched him wrestle. I was wrestling at like a mall war tournament, and he like walked on the mat, pulled on a singlet, and just torched 3 straight dudes. I'm like, that dude's something different, man. It's just impressive.
He
man.
has I don't know if my numbers are correct, but I think he did MMA fighting for a while. He was like 10-0. I don't think he ever lost a match.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think he was fighting whenever he was coaching for us, and I don't remember him losing. So,
No,
but yeah,
never.
just an impressive human being, and what a cheat code for you guys to have him in your program. That's awesome stuff.
Yeah, he comes around whenever he can. I mean, it's once, maybe twice a week throughout the year, and I take him when I can get him. That's all. At the junior high, we have 4 guys down there teaching the basics, which is what I firmly believe in. It's Trevor McIntyre's the head coach. He was a state qualifier for Fort Cherry. Keith Lau, he ran our youth program for years. Barry Miller wrestled at Cannon Mac probably in the early 80s, I would think. And then Jason Zanovica, who wrestled for me back in the 90s when I was the first time I was at South Fayette. So that's our staff at this point. I mean, I like it. I'd like to see all 5 of them varsity guys in the room at one time because Josh Miller, I don't know if you probably don't know him, but he's a tough character too. He grew up in Johnstown and in the city of Johnstown, and he knew the Hasselrigs real good. And he's a very physical guy, but one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet.
That's awesome. Okay, talk to me about your schedule. What's it look like for you guys this year? Is it changing a little bit, or is it the same? How did you build it this year?
It's kind of the same. A lot of times what I do is I kind of project what we're going to have the next year and try to build a schedule around that. A couple challenging tournaments. We usually start out with Chartiers Houston, which we are. I think that's a good starting tournament. It's usually pretty tough, especially when you get to I think last year they had like 30 some teams. And once you get into the quarterfinals, then you're grinding to win the tournament. We added some more. We have 10 dual meets. We're going to end up doing 15 dual meets, kind of one dual tournament we're in. I don't know how that's going to work out because we're going to have some holes in our lineup, but we open up with Seneca Valley on I have to look at my schedule because I did this so long ago. I can't remember what it is. On
That's okay.
The 10th of December. Mm-hmm. And then we get into our section schedule. We have Waynesburg the next day, then Cannon McMillan the week after, and then we're out of it. We finish December, we're wrestling Hopewell. One of my former assistants, Brett Smith, took over at Hopewell last year. So
I just had Brett on last night. Great dude.
Did you? Yeah, he is great dude. I didn't want to see him go. He did call me, and he's like, "Hey, coach, Hopewell job open," and I'm like, "Go for it, man."
Yeah, and we talked a lot about that last night. It was great to talk, and he seems like he's pulling a bunch of Hopewell alumnus back and helping
Yeah.
out the program. And Matt Hundinsky's his buddy. Matt was actually one of my coaches in high school too for a year, which is wild because he was only a year older than me. But yeah, man, I just Brett's a great dude.
And I wrote him a recommendation letter and pretty much told him if they don't hire him, they're making a huge mistake. That's what in a nice way, but that's pretty much what I told them.
For sure.
So I hated to see him go, but I can't stop him from going back to his alma mater and try to build something there.
No doubt, no doubt.
And then the second half of the year, we typically do. We will start out January with Tricadia, and then back into our section tournament, section matches with Trinity, Chartiers Valley. Then we have the Allegheny County tournament towards the end of January, which I get asked a million times every year. How are you in 2 county tournaments? And I said, that's because my athletic director belongs to the Tri-County Athletic Directors Association, who does that tournament. That's how I get into both of them. So, and then we finish up with some, just some other matches, Bell Vernon, Shaler. We're going back. Fort Cherry wanted to wrestle me wrestle Fayette, wanted me to be. They're honoring our 2000 WPIAL championship team.
Very cool.
And so they're gonna do that, and Fayette and Fort Cherry are gonna wrestle after all that. So then we finish the season with the Montour Duels. So
great schedule. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in there, and a lot of WPIAL teams, which you love to see as well.
Next year I'm going to start looking with the way they revamped AAA and bringing in all those other districts. I think I'm going to look to try to find a tournament where I can run into some of these guys. Because when we were in AA, I started going to Bedford, and all the people were like, "Why are you going to Bedford?" I'm like, "Because if you want to go to Hershey, you got to wrestle districts 5 and 6." So,
give me your thoughts on the added round. I mean, I've kind of asked all the coaches that you've been around the game for a long time. Talk to me about the added round. What did we add? 20-something schools to the WPIAL, and we got 1 qualifier.
Yeah, you pretty much that's what you're saying. Yeah. I don't know. I have to go through it 1 year to see what happens. I think it's going to actually be a little harder. They're only giving us 5 qualifiers, and you got districts, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I didn't have an issue with it in AA, so odds are I probably won't have an issue with it in AAA. So
love that mentality.
We'll go and see how it goes the first time.
Yeah, for sure. I love that mentality. It's been an interesting conversation. A lot of different takes. So, but yeah, good stuff on that. Okay, next thing I have for you. I'm not sure how you're going to answer this one, but social medias. Do you have any does the squad have any? And how's that look?
Personally, I have 0.
I figured. That's okay.
But we do have social media. I had to write it down. I had to get it from my booster president because I don't know what any of them are other than the website. I could have gave you the website. So we have X, which is @Lions_wrestling. We have Facebook, which is South Fayette Lions Wrestling. And our website is sflions.com.
Very cool.
The website's a little behind. The last time I looked at it actually was about a month ago. It had 2021 on the front page. We finally have a parent who is going to do like all our media relations. And I'm in the process right now of getting that updated with the new team, with this year's team on it. And I think Josh is going to do our X. He'll be putting stuff on X on when we have matches, putting out scores and results and stuff like that.
Very cool. Yeah. X is the big one for me, so I can follow you guys, see what the hell's going on.
I think we're going to have Coach Malika is going to he's going to handle it because he'll be at all the matches. And
absolutely. It's good stuff.
My booster president's taking a hiatus from varsity because it's Johnny Biano's mother, who I don't know if I could run this program without her. She's my shout out at the end. So, but
gotcha.
she's not going to be at all the varsity matches because now her younger son's in seventh grade. So, and I fully understand that. That's not a problem. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, yeah. Let's go to goals and expectations you have for your squad.
The goals is what I touched on earlier. Is every year, I want to be in the team playoffs. I mean, I think that's. I've been asked numerous times what's better, individual or team, and I said, well, it depends which postseason we're in. When we're in the team season, I mean, it's nice. I'll get in anyway. We'll wrestle anybody anywhere. I just like getting in. I just like the process, the intensity that comes with them. And then you get to the individual where you're on your own, and our mentality when we get to there is survive and advance. We, our goal going in is to win sections, win WPIALs. Now it's win regionals. But if you get derailed, you got to clear your head and survive and advance to the next round. That's the motto that they hear from me. They probably get tired of hearing it once they drop into the losers bracket. It's all about survive and advance and get to the next round because you never know what's going to happen.
What coach famously said that? That was Jimmy V, right?
To be honest with you, I don't even know. I don't follow basketball, so I can't help you there.
Well, I just think that there was a documentary that was called Survive and Advance or something along those lines. That's the only reason.
Now that you mention it, I think it was about when they won the NCAA title back in the 80s.
Yeah, with NC State.
Yeah, they had like a 500 team, and they made the tournament, and they made a run and won the title. I think you're right. I think it was.
We're not big basketball fans. We're not going to talk a lot about basketball on this podcast. But if we are going to talk about a team, it will be an underdog story. That's for sure. We love underdogs in wrestling.
Yes.
But last thing I have for you, man, just anyone or anything you want to shout out before I leave you go.
My booster president, as I mentioned before, Deanna Biano. She's been around since Johnny was in elementary or moved into the junior high, and now her younger son is moving in, and she does everything. I don't know how smooth this program would run without her. We just had a fundraiser this past weekend, raised over $9,000 that she did probably 80% of the work to make it go. So my administration, my AD he does a heck of a job. I pretty much get almost anything I want. And the youth coaches, Jason Karras runs our youth program. Jason Cardillo's down there helping them. And actually a former wrestler of mine from when I was at Fayette in the early 90s, he's in the room helping now. He was a WPIAL champ, state qualifier. So those guys there, they're the ones that build the future. I just polish it and keep them going.
And that's really the family affair, man. I love that. I love all the shout outs there. And it seems like you guys got, great pieces in place to build something special again, which, I know you will. Because
it's coming. The junior highs, they're at, we're probably going to have 15 kids on the varsity. We're going to have a couple holes. It's just, I'm not sure where they're going to be yet. The junior highs,
man, it's a tough time right now for wrestling. I've found across the board, it's just kids aren't the same as what they used to be, I guess. You know what I mean?
You hit the nail right on the head. The kids aren't what they, but our junior high kids, I actually have been staying for their practices after ours because we only have one room. So it's like we're in there at 2:30. Junior high comes in at 4:15. Youth comes in at 6 o'clock. So it's like a revolving door there for every night. And I stay for them. And we have 23 kids, which is the most we've ever had in my tenure at Fayette at junior high. And they're all, I'm excited about the future. As long as we can keep them all in, we got to keep them all invested.
Yes, for sure, man. For sure. Great stuff. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me. And I can't wait to see you at a match or a tournament real soon.
Yep. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
About the internet being funky.